Hello and a very warm welcome to my new tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make a new piece of fabric from fabric crumbs. Those are literally the tiniest bits of fabric that usually land in the bin. But you'll be amazed to see what you can actually still do with them. So I'm starting with a strip and I'm going to lay all those tiny pieces right sides together, but you can, if you don't have strips, you can just use those tiny bits and sew those together directly. Whichever way, there's really no right or wrong. It's literally just all about joining pieces as the initial step. So I'm going to lay them on the machine, and I'm actually, as you can see in a second, I'm going to put them quite close together so that we're not actually wasting parts of the strip, and it also cuts down on the work of sort of trimming things at the next stage. Those of you who've been following my channel for a little while know that I've never before recorded a voiceover, so it's a first and I'm still learning, and please bear with me. I'm trying not to fumble my way through, so yeah, I'll see how it goes. As you can see, I've added the next piece here without cutting the thread from the first piece. This is called chain piecing, and you're just running through as many pieces as you like, really, without cutting the thread, and it's saving time, it's saving you thread, and yeah, you'll just cut things at the end. You'll see in a minute. I always have a little piece of fabric scrap handy that I use to keep the chain going, so that I can take the other pieces off the machine. And here's our first chain. I'm just snipping off the individual pieces, and the next step here is to open them up, and depending how big they are, you can, with the little pieces, you can get away with finger pressing them, or you might actually want to use a seam roller, as I do in a minute. I'm trimming off any obvious overhangs at this stage as well, but you don't really need to worry too much about straightening the whole edges at this stage. We'll do that a bit later on. It becomes more important as the pieces get bigger. Now that you've joined a few pieces together already, you can have a little play around to see, how colours go together, and the direction of seams as well. In these examples, I've mainly gone horizontal or vertical with the lines. I mean, a little bit of wonky is always nice, especially with these tiny scraps, but I haven't really done any diagonal lines. That is also a nice technique. I'm going to show you a few pieces later on. It's just a different way of of putting these together, and sometimes really wonky and freestyle adding is also called crazy quilting. Some of these edges now actually need straightening so that you can join pieces together better. So as I mentioned before, as pieces get bigger, you end up with a few areas like here that need trimming a little bit. Sometimes scissors work, but other times I just get the quilting ruler and my rotary cutter out. When I match up the next round of pieces to be joined, I always add them onto a little pile with the side to be sewn facing upwards, so that when I'm back at my machine, I can just take them off the top and run them through. Now, here's a couple of pieces just to show you some diagonal lines and how different it looks. And you can actually practice curves as well and use these for crazy quilting. So here is literally just totally freestyle going across, and you end up with a very different look. You can actually also just join stripes together and make some, either a stripy border or make some stripy blocks for a quilt if you like. And these can add a lot of lovely colour to any quilt as a border, or yeah, as I said, as blocks. Just to give you an idea of what it might look like, just hold a quilting ruler over the top, and it can act as a sort of frame just to give you a preview of the design that you can cut. You can add different stripes as well the other way and add those two together. You can also add a solid colour around each scrappy block, and that would sort of tone down the busyness of it, so to speak. Just imagine you have a neutral background colour with those colourful blocks in between. That would look really, really lovely. I always find it really helpful to just lay things out, hold things against each other, just to see how things change really depending what you combine. And sometimes you just need to look at things maybe on a design wall or lay blocks out on your bed or so, just to see how it's coming together. As you can see, the pieces are getting larger, and it might take a little bit more playing around to fit them together now, because sometimes you might not want two colours joining, or sometimes you actually could add a little piece just to fill in an area that might be a touch too short. But hopefully you can see it all coming together now. Just a note actually on the seams. You might find that the seam naturally wants to go one way rather than the other, and this might be to do with how many pieces are joined at that stage, or maybe you're using slightly different thicknesses. So I always go with literally just how the fabric wants to lay. Once you've sewn a few seams, you'll also definitely need to get the iron out, as finger pressing won't really be enough at this stage. A good press is going to get much nicer results at the end. You'd be really surprised how quickly things actually come together, and how quickly the pieces are growing. And this is actually a good way as well to use up maybe fabrics that you don't like so much in a larger print. There's the old adage that if you don't like a fabric, you haven't cut it small enough. And there really is some truth to it. And here we have it. This is a nice size piece now. And in the next section, I'll show you a little pouch that I made from a previous piece that I made. And I think I'm going to turn this one into a book cover, embroidered book cover. Not quite sure yet, I'm still thinking of ideas, but I think that's what I'm going to go with. So that'll be for another day, for another video. And this is the little pouch that I made from a previous piece. I added a layer of wadding, or batting if you're American, and a lining, and then added some embroidery stitches by machine, and also a few stitches, slow stitches by hand, and a little sari silk ribbon as a closure. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video has given you a few ideas, and you'll have a go. Do let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you.